Hey, what's up guys, Quinn here, and today we're going to be taking a look at another Transformers figure. This is the Transformers Studio Series Gamer Edition 03 Voyager class Optimus Prime from the Transformers War for Cybertron video game. First, we'll take a look at the packaging. At the front we have a CG model of Optimus Prime from the game with the Studio Series label highlighted gray. Turning to the side, we have a zoom out shot of the model from earlier, and I like how they switch out the Autobot insignia for a D-pad, which is appropriate for this subline. And we have the product shot on the back. He transforms in 22 steps with the description reading, Optimus Prime enacts a plan to be captured by the Decepticons in an effort to save Zeta Prime, which is accurate to what we see in the Autobot campaign. And finally, on the other side, we have a close-up shot of the CG render from earlier with the Studio Series Gamer Edition label, which states that Optimus Prime is a figure number 03 and that he is a Voyager class. The backdrop itself is a part of the section from the Crayon Prism Break. You can even see the Photon Burst Rifle in this backdrop. You can put Prime for display or for some toy photography, up to you. This figure is a long-awaited one. When they first announced this figure back in March 2023, I knew I had to get it. The War for Cybertron game is one of my childhood favorites. I remember the days whenever I visit my cousins and we would play a ton of games on his PS3, and one of the games was Transformers War for Cybertron. And of course, me being an Optimus Prime fan, I would pick Optimus 90% of the time. Now fast forward to 2024, I finally have this guy. It is a dream come true. His proportions is almost a spitting image of the in-game design. Hasbro did an incredible job designing this mold, and all of the essential details are here. Some critiques I would give about this mold is that the shoulders aren't big enough. If we take a look at his in-game design, his shoulders are bulkier, and as a result, the upper half of the robot mode looks proportional. Now I understand the compromises for the shoulders to be smaller on this figure because it would be impossible for them to make it accurate to the game without making the transformation finicky. So yeah, they made the right sacrifices. At least the essential details are here, like the smokestacks on the side of the legs, the wheels on the back of Prime, and the red panels on his hips. Sure, it's missing some paint apps on certain areas, but I didn't notice that it needed one when I first got it until I compared it side by side with the in-game model. Accessories wise, it's not lacking whatsoever. We have the matrix of leadership as well as the chamber itself on his chest, something that I did not expect to be included for this figure. You can remove it, but there is no way for Prime to hold it, unfortunately. I usually just pose him in his receiving the matrix stance. Next we have his iconic Energon X. Unfortunately, the paint apps are lacking for this one in my opinion. It looks like someone accidentally sprinkled Dorito seasoning on his axe. It has this transforming gimmick. It's transforming it from its cutscene model to its in-game model. I like this gimmick because it is accurate to the game. And finally, we have his Ion Blaster, and this is my favorite gimmick for this figure. You slide his right hand off and plug in its Ion Blaster, and it looks exactly like in the game, and I love this weapon integration. My only issue with his Ion Blaster is that it's a bit small compared to his in-game model. It doesn't necessarily cover his entire arm. Still though, I think it still looks cool. While this is not that big of a deal, I can't say the same when it comes to the other weapons in this upline. For example, when you integrate the Neutron Assault Rifle that came with Gamer Edition Barricade, it's so tiny in Prime's arm, but hey, at least all of them are compatible with each other, so yeah. I hope when they got around making the follow Cybertron Gamer Edition figures, they would make the weapons a bit bigger because these FOC models are buffed AF compared to the War for Cybertron models. There is no weapon storage in the robot mode at all, but you can store his right arm on this butt port for when you're equipping his Ion Blaster. Unless you have the DNA Design Upgrade Kit, yeah, you're stuck with an arm hanging off of his ass. I just love handling this guy. I'm gonna include a section here where I showcase some poses just to show the amount of articulation you can pull off with this figure. So with this being a Voyager class instead of a deluxe class, we have a lot of posability options. So let's start with the head. The head is on a ball joint and it is very expressive. I'm actually very surprised with that one. It's very expressive. You can look up really far and look down. You can look down really a bit, but it still counts. It is very expressive. You can put a lot of hip movement to do it. You can also tilt either side or tilt anywhere. It doesn't hinder it anywhere, which is pretty good. Shoulder is on full 360 rotation. It can do that. It can move out, but it also like kind of clicks in when you're moving out. It can move out about that far, which is pretty nice. And if you untap this and slide it out, you get a butterfly joint, which is very cool. I like this one. A butterfly joint on a Voyager class, which is pretty cool. But I would suggest that to be careful with this guy because it's on sliders, and I'm really afraid that it might break this like over time. I don't think it's like it has a lot of wiggle, and yeah, I'm really afraid with that one. So just be careful when you're handling this guy, especially when you're like slide it out for that one. You have a bicep swivel and of course, and also a double bend. No, there's not a double bend. It's a single bend at the elbow, but this one bends a bit further than the other one, I believe. Yeah, as you can see, a tad bit over 90 degrees. It has a wrist rotation, but it is very limited. So as you can see, it is very limited. You can do it about that far, and then you can do it about this far. And of course, you cannot plug in the axe if it's pointing into this direction because you can simply win it. You cannot simply plug it in. See? Cannot simply plug it. So yeah, I wish this one it's a bit like thinner or just like much submerged to the back, but I don't know, it's just a bit bummer that I can just cannot do a full 360 on the wrist. Not that big of a deal. It has a waist swivel, but it is loose. Like there's like no effort at all. Like I might actually need to tighten up, but considering for the price that I got this, I am I am not so sure about that. I will tell you guys more the price in the conclusion. The legs can keep forward about that far, which is very stiff. I really enjoyed that. And it cannot move back like at all. It cannot move back at all. But considering the range that we got for the forward kick, I really like it. Except that it also has a thigh swivel, and you can see there is so many hollow bits. Like there's so many hollow bits on the figure. Like it doesn't really bother me, but it will bother some people, and the DNA Design Upgrade Kit remedies this with some details and stuff like that. Yeah, but if it's a hollow bit bother you, you might need to get the DNA Design Upgrade Kit. But I'm not gonna do that. And of course, you have a bend at the knee, about 90-degree bend, which is pretty nice. And the legs can kick forward. I think you need to unplug the shin first in order to access it if you want to do it. So you can move about that far, and it could move back about that far without need to untap the shin. You can move back, and also a pretty good pivot. So in terms of posability, this guy is pretty good. So I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty good. But of course, like I said, the wrist is. I wish the wrist could move about 360 degrees with no hindrance whatsoever, which is kind of a disappointment in my opinion. And another thing that I want to mention before we move to the next section is that the head. The head is a bit small. I don't know. Like I'm going to give you guys the in-game model again. It is a bit bigger, or like you know what, like if you compare it to his in-game model, his head is a bit bigger. And I don't know about you, but this looks small. It doesn't look bad. Okay, it doesn't look bad. It still looks great, but I just wish that the head is a bit bigger. It's just like his body is so wide and the head is a bit small. It just looks disproportionate to my eyes, but it's not necessarily doesn't ruin the figure for me, but just something that I notice. And oh yeah, I could mention that the Ion Blaster is actually Blast Effect compatible, as you can see, 3mm port. I don't have a Blast Effect that is compatible with this, unfortunately, but if you want to put this, make sure it's 3mm if you want to do that. And the last thing I want to talk about is there is no Autobot insignia on the back. So if you notice, because in the game there's an Autobot insignia on the back, you can see it. And in the original deluxe class figure back from 2010, it does have one when you unfold this part over here, but this doesn't have one. So yeah, I just wish that they put a little reference it just back in the deluxe, but it's okay, it doesn't ruin the figure. But overall, this guy posability is pretty good. For size comparison, here it is alongside my SH Figuarts Marvel Spider-Man, my previous figure, the Bioware Spock Interstellar Pirates, Bioware Star Leader, and my Studio Series 86 RC. So the robot mode is amazing. It's super posable, and I had a fun time messing around with this guy. But what about the alt mode? Well, that is another thing. Transformation is very satisfying. I enjoyed sliding the arms and rotating the chest to form the front of the alt mode. Again, that sliders is my biggest concern because I'm afraid I might break it. Just make sure you're not rushing the transformation on that part. I love how smooth it is transforming from one step to the other. It felt satisfying when you tap everything in place. I had a bit of trouble when unplugging the shin. I just pushed one side inwards while simultaneously pulling the left bot. And also the arms like to untap every now and then, but yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Alt mode is chonky until you look at the back. Yes, I'm talking about this first because it's the biggest issue I have with this figure. It looks bad, straight up, it looks bad. The back of the alt mode is what you mostly see in game, and that's why I have issue with it. They remedied that with their upcoming Fractured Friendship 2 pack, and damn it, I wish they did the same thing for this figure. Again, unless you have the DNA Design upgrade kit, you're kinda stuck with this. But since I rarely transform this figure, the issue doesn't really bug me that much. Aside from that, holy hell, this alt mode looks so good. They're able to capture the shaping and proportions of the in-game model very well. The curvature on the front to the blocky shape on the back, it looks like it can do serious damage. Now as for weapon storage, it's less than ideal to say the least. I wish they can utilize the fact that the axe can be broken up to 3 pieces and put it to somewhere like, I don't know, underneath the alt mode. Still, maybe you can use your imagination to pretend that Prime has a cannon. Yeah, okay, you know what? I don't know about this. So, final thoughts on this figure. I am not quite sure, not gonna lie. I got this guy for 680,000 rupees or around $42, and in my opinion, that price is still perfectly acceptable. But if we're going at a retail price here in Indonesia, it's 800,000 rupees or $50. And at that price, I would say to vote with your wallet. The original price is $35, right? And then I would recommend this. But for $50, I'm not quite sure. This is a good figure, don't get me wrong, but not leader class good. So the verdict is, if you're able to get this for $35 to $40 ish, then it's an absolute worthy pickup. But for $50, you have to really want this figure so that it can be justified. That's gonna be my review of the Transformers Studio Series Gamer Edition 03 Voyager class Optimus Prime. I hope you enjoyed and find this review useful, and I'll see you guys next time.